Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, we're going to look at how to work with blocks. The blocks function in Reason version 5 and Record version 1.5 makes it possible to work with songs in a more pattern-based fashion, like in traditional hardware sequencers. This song has its clips laid out in a linear fashion in the arrangement, just like we're used to from previous versions of Reason and Record. When we arrange our song in a linear fashion, we can copy and paste clips to build up our arrangement. As you can hear, the song begins with only drums and bass, and then gradually builds up with more and more tracks. Now, let's see how we can easily accomplish the same thing using the blocks function. Let's keep only the bars of our song where all tracks play back together. Let's move these clips to a block instead and see what we can do. Now, let's switch on the blocks function on the transport panel. As you can see, we get a block automation track at the top in the sequencer. The sequencer toolbar also gets two additional buttons, the Song View and the Block View buttons. Click the Block button to enter the block view. Now, the sequencer switches views to show the contents of Block 1, which is empty at the moment. At the top, we can see the block name and its default color. If you like, you can change the block name and color. The arrangement pane is also colored according to the block color. Let's paste our clips at the beginning of this block. Now, we've moved our song clips into Block 1. Recording and editing is done in exactly the same way in Blocks View as in the regular Song View. One important thing to remember when working in the Blocks View is that the end marker defines the total length of the block. Let's move the end marker to the end of these clips. Now the block length is 4 bars. Next, let's see how we can use this single block to create a complete intro similar to the linear intro we started off with. We switch back to Song View to begin arranging our song. When we're going to use blocks in our arrangement, we have to create block automation clips. These clips are similar to pattern clips and define which block plays back when and for how long. Select the pencil tool and select the desired block from the list. You can have up to 32 completely different blocks in a song. In this example, we're only using one single block, but you can do plenty with only one block, as you'll soon see. Draw a block automation clip on the blocks track. You can see that the content of block 1 is also displayed in a ghosted fashion on the arrangement pane. Now, if I resize the block automation clip and make it longer than the original block length, the content in the block is repeated like this. These vertical lines show where the block is repeated. Let's keep the block automation clip the same length as the original block, 4 bars. Now, let's duplicate the block automation clip a couple of times. I'll soon explain why. Now, we have 4 block automation clips. Each clip will play back the contents of block 1, one time each. I could have created one single 16-bar block automation clip and got the same result. However, there's a reason why I didn't. The mute lane function. Select the mute tool from the toolbar and click on the grayed out lanes to mute individual lanes of each block automation clip. Since mutes affect the entire lanes of each block automation clip, I use several shorter block automation clips instead of a single longer one to restrict the mutes. By muting individual lanes like this, I can easily create a complete song intro out of a single block. To create variations in the song, I can have regular song clips on top of the block clips, overriding the block content wherever I want. Finally, when I'm happy with my arrangement, I could use the Convert Block Automation to Song Clips function to automatically generate linear song clips out of all the block clips in the song. So there's a basic overview of how you can work with blocks in Reason and Record. Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at how you can work with loops in the Dr. Octo Rex loop player. Dr. Octo Rex features 8 loop slots. Each of these slots can hold a Rex file. Let's check out what you can do with a Rex file loaded into one of these slots. Here in the display is the graphical representation of the Rex loop. Each of the slices are indicated by a red vertical line. You select a slice for editing by just clicking on it in the display, like this. For each of the slices in the Rex loop, you can edit the pitch, pan, level, decay, reverse, filter frequency, alternate group, and audio output. You can edit all these parameters for each slice by turning these knobs. To make it easier to edit several slices, there is the Slice Edit mode. Now, the display changes appearance and features a row of parameter items at the bottom. Let's say we want to change the panning of our slices in this loop. Click the Pan parameter item and click on the display to change the panning of the slices individually. You can also draw in the display like this to change all slices in a single sweep. To reset a slice to its default value, just Control-click under Windows or Command-click on Mac. If you want to reset the parameter values for all slices, hold down Control or Command and draw across the display like this. Let's set a couple of slices in this Rex loop to reverse. Sounds interesting. Okay, those were some examples of how we could edit a Rex loop. Now, let's check out how we can use several Rex loops and switch between them from the sequencer. On the Dr. Octo Rex, it's possible to switch between the loop slots using pattern automation. This is done in a way similar as when switching between patterns in the ReDrum drum computer. When you use pattern automation in Dr. Octo Rex, make sure the Enable Loop Playback button is on. Let's create a pattern automation lane and draw a pattern automation clip for loop slot 1, like this. Now, let's create another pattern clip assigned to loop slot 2. And another one for loop slot 3. Let's play back the track. As you can hear, the playback switches between the loop slots according to the pattern automation. A new feature in Reason 5 is that pattern automation clips now can have an offset when you resize them. Let's resize the start position of this clip by 1 bar. As you can hear, clip 2 now forces the loop in slot 2 to play back the Rex loop from bar 2 instead of from the beginning. This way, you can create some really interesting beats when using pattern automation. Let's resize our pattern automation clips. Okay, let's hear what we've got now. Pretty groovy. So that's just one of many ways that you can work with the Dr. Octo Rex loop player. Hi, and welcome. In this tutorial, we'll scratch the surface and explain the basic functions of the mighty Kong Drum Designer. The Kong Drum Designer is a semi-modular drum sound device with immense possibilities for sculpting your drum and beat sounds. Kong has 16 pads and 16 drum sound channels. By default, each pad is assigned to control one drum sound channel each. If you click on a pad, the corresponding drum sound channel is triggered and selected. The higher up on the pad you click, the higher the velocity value. Down to the left is the drum control panel. Here, you can load and save your individual drum patches and also initialize sampling. You can also adjust some basic parameters for the selected drum channel, like pitch and decay offsets, effects send parameters, and pan, tone, and level. If we unfold the Drum and Effects section, we can see what drum and effects modules are used for the selected drum channel. Here we have a physical model of a kick drum, routed to a parametric EQ and an overdrive resonator effects in series. To the right, we have a bus effects and a master effects that can be used by all 16 drum channels. If I turn the bus effects send knob on the drum control panel, I can control the send level from the selected drum channel to the bus effects. By clicking on these selection buttons, you can easily replace the drum and effects modules with other modules to create a new sound. There are 9 different drum modules and 11 different effects modules to choose from. If you select another pad, the corresponding drum sound channel is selected and the drum and effects modules for that channel are shown. As you can see, the bus effects and master effects are the same, since they're global for all 16 drum channels. A very nice feature in Kong is the Quick Edit mode. Next to each section on the main panel are these little square Q buttons. If you click one of these, the pad section switches to show parameter values for each drum sound channel. The parameter names and edit access are shown here on the red frame. You can then edit the parameters by clicking and dragging on the pads, like this. To the right on the main panel is the Pad Settings section. Here, in the Drum Assignment area, you can assign the pads to desired drum channels any way you'd like. If you click the Quick Edit button, each pad shows the current drum sound channel assignment. You can easily change the assignment by clicking on another drum channel number on each of the pads. You can also assign pads to pad groups. There are 9 pad groups divided into 3 mute groups, 3 link groups, and 3 alternate groups. If I assign 2 or more pads to the same mute group, playing any pad will automatically mute any sound played by the other pads in that group. This is perfect for playing open and closed hi-hats, for example. Pads assigned to the same link group will play together when you play any of the pads in that group. Pads assigned to the same alt group will play alternating when you play a pad in that group. It's also possible to assign the same pad to several pad groups if you like. So, that was a brief introduction to the mighty Kong Drum Designer. Hello, and welcome. In this tutorial, we're going to look at sampling. The sampling feature in Reason version 5 lets you sample external audio, just like a traditional sampler. What's more, it also lets you sample any internal sound sources as well. Let's check out this song here. Here we have a redrum, one of the devices in Reason version 5 that features sampling. As you can see, the redrum has a sample button for each of the drum channels. These sample buttons can be used when you want to sample a sound straight into a device. The other devices that can sample are Kong, the NN19, and the NNXT. When you create a new empty song, it's automatically set up and prepared for sampling. Let's navigate to the hardware interface and flip the rack around. Here are the two sampling inputs. This is where you route the signals you want to sample. By default, audio inputs 1 and 2 are connected to the left and right sampling inputs. This makes it possible to sample external signals present on audio inputs 1 and 2 of the audio card. I'm going to sample sounds using a microphone which is connected to input 1 of my sound card. When you're going to sample in mono, you need to disconnect the right sampling input. Otherwise, the sample will be in stereo but contain audio only on the left channel. Now, let's flip the rack back again. As you can see, the left sampling level meter now lights up when I speak into the microphone. I also want to hear what I'm sampling, so therefore I activate monitoring. Now, let's adjust the audio input level a bit. As with all analog input levels, you have to adjust them at the source, in this case on the sound card preamp. To make it easier to see and adjust the input level, I bring up the big meter. Now, let's adjust the preamp to a good level without causing any clipping. Aim for a maximum level around -10 dB to be on the safe side. Okay, let's move down to the redrum. I want to assign my sample to channel 1 of the redrum, so therefore I'll use the channel 1 sampling button. There are two ways I can sample into a device. Either by clicking and holding the sample button for as long as I want to sample and then releasing the button. This is what we call one-click sampling. The other way is to click once, then sample, and then click again to stop sampling. This is the method I'll use here. Click the sampling button. Now, a waveform display shows up with a moving playhead. Okay, let's sample. Boom! And click the stop button. The sample shows up on the Song Samples tab in the Tool window and is automatically assigned to channel 1 in the redrum device. I can instantly play back the sample by hitting the channel 1 play button. As you can hear, the sample automatically plays back at the correct position, skipping the initial silent part of the sample. Very convenient. If I like, I can now edit the sample by double-clicking it in the Tool window. I can also right-click in the redrum channel display and select Edit Sample. This brings up the Edit Sample window where the sample is displayed. Here I can adjust start and end positions, crop, normalize, reverse, and loop the sample forward or back and forth. We'll get more into details about sample editing in a separate tutorial. Now, let's check out how we can sample audio internally from Reason devices. Sampling audio from Reason devices is great if you want to resample sounds with effects applied, for example. Let's say I want to sample a part of the entire mix of this song into an NNXT so I can trigger it from my MIDI keyboard. First, I need to go to the hardware interface and reroute the left and right outputs of the mixer to the left and right sampling inputs. Like this. Then, we go to the NNXT and unfold the remote editor. We click the sampling button and click play on the transport panel. Okay, that's enough. Let's connect the mixer cables back to where they were before we sampled. There. Now, the output signals from the mixer have been sampled into the NNXT and I can play it back from my MIDI keyboard. Okay, let's check how it sounds with the rest of the song. Yeah, interesting. So that's how you can sample in Reason. Easy as that.